Hi everyone, Radhe Radhe. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about learning style, specifically the learning style that I have, which is going deep into one tiny little topic, versus going on a breath and doing a lot in a short amount of time, which is the more common one. So I'm going to talk about the importance of going deep. So if you have this tendency to listen to a lot of lectures or podcasts or learn a lot or read a lot of books, this might trigger you a little bit. I mean, of course, you do you and you decide what works for you. But I'm going to talk about the power of going deep. Okay, that is going to be this topic because that is what I do. It comes naturally to me. I am not able to do a lot of things. People will listen to podcasts and lectures and things like that at 2x speed or 1.5x speed, and they're like, we can get through a lot of information very quickly. So I talk to people like that, and I talk to people like, are you able to get everything from there? Are you able to hear everything? And mostly the answer is no, even if normal speed, forget about like 1.5 or 2x speed. And the answer is many times no, they'll miss things because the mind will wander, the mind will go somewhere else. It will not be 100% focused all the time. But they're able to listen to it, which is a good skill too. I don't have that skill. Um, what I tend to do is I pause if I don't miss something, and then I rewind, and then I listen again, and my mind wanders again sometimes. And so sometimes at the same thing, I've paused and rewinded 5 times before I actually listen. And then many times I will pause and think about it. I'm like, okay, this is an important point. I need to figure out how to apply it into my life. So I will think about it and I will journal about it sometimes. And then my mind will wander. And many times I literally lose hours. And suddenly I'll be like, oh, what made me pause? What was the thought? So I'll go back, I'll rewind, and then I'll try to remember the thought again. Usually, if I rewind and listen again, I will remember the thought again. And then I will realize that I didn't really manage to think about that thought very much because my mind wandered and for hours, but then I'll still think about that thought again. I don't want to continue until I've thought about that thought and I've processed that thought. So there are two ways in which we learn. One, I'm going to talk about the one that I've learned in the personal growth world and one that I've learned in the spiritual growth world, like the scriptures, the Indian scriptures talk about. So I'm going to talk about both of them and I'm going to combine both of them. So there's going to be a little bit of off topic thing, but it'll come back. So, the personal growth way is that you start from a place of unconscious incompetence, where you don't know, you don't know. I don't know that there are shoes. I don't know that there are shoelaces. I don't know that something like that exists, and that we have to that one of the things we can do is learn how to tie them. I don't know that. The second thing is conscious incompetence. I know that I don't know. So I know that shoes exist and shoelaces exist, but I don't know how to tie them. Third stage is conscious competence. I'm learning how to tie them. I'm learning, okay, you put this thing and you put this thing and you did this thing and you did this thing and you figure out, okay, this is how we tie shoes. And fourth stage is unconscious competence, where you don't even know that you know. I mean, it becomes such second nature to you, so second nature, and that you tie shoe, you don't even think about it. You tie shoelaces, you probably won't even remember. You're going out somewhere and you'll tie shoelaces, and suddenly you're like, oh yeah, I tied shoelaces. Like you don't even realize you're doing it because it becomes unconsciously competent. That's one way of doing things. So when I'm going to bring it back. So when I'm pausing and I'm thinking about it, I am going so I have gone from a place of unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence as soon as I heard it. Right? Now, when I think about it, so that means I know that I don't know something. I figured out that I don't know. I didn't know that I didn't know it. And that's learning something new. And then now I know that I don't know it. So then when I'm thinking about it, I'm going from a place of conscious incompetence to conscious competence, where I'm thinking about how do I apply it in this life, in my life. This situation that has happened, I want to be able to learn it well enough that next time the situation happens, I'm able to apply it. So I'm going to conscious competence. And the more frequently I do that, the more, the faster I get, or the more frequently I do that, the closer I get to the stage of unconscious competence where I just know it. Next time that situation happens, I handle it without even realizing I'm handling it in that situation, in that way, right? A thought occurs to me, for example, a resentment thought occurs to me. Then what do I do? How do I handle it? I would get upset. Earlier, I would get upset. I used to get very upset, like, oh, why did this person say this thing to me? Why did this person tell me I can't do this, or something? Then I would be upset at the person. So I'm giving a practical example because it helped me a lot when I was learning this a few years ago, many years ago. It helped me a lot to understand that you can apply it in many, 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 many different areas. This is not just like you take a course and then you apply. No, it's all these tiny, tiny, tiny millions, gazillions of things that we're learning during the day, during our lives. These stages apply in all of them. So I'm just talking about this one of them, resentment. I would get resentful. And then I realized that there is a way to handle it where I don't get resentful because the other person's thing is the other person's actions or words or whatever depend on them. Yes, there is some energetic thing where I'm creating that, but it has nothing to do with me anyways. It's just an energetic thing that I'm creating. But it's not true. It doesn't make it true just because the other person is saying something, doesn't make it true. So I realized that the other person's actions or thoughts or words or deeds are their responsibility. So I understand that from an intellect. I understand that there is something. First, I understand that there is something that I'm missing here. When I'm getting upset, there is something that I'm missing here. And people keep saying, people leave their actions to themselves, take responsibility for your own actions and leave their actions to themselves. So you hear all of these things and you're like, okay, I don't understand this. I know that there is something there, but I don't understand this. Then you get to the place of that I got to the place of conscious competence where I was like, oh, I get it. I now understand it. Like I understand it in a deep way that what they're doing is really their responsibility. They are bringing their anxieties and fears onto the table. And the reason they're saying I can't do it is because they're afraid that they can't do it. Or it's envy. Every human being has envy, by the way. This is not like, if you think that you don't have envy, you don't know yourself very well enough. You're not aware of yourself well enough. But it's, unless you've actually worked through that and come to enlightenment, or you might have brought it from your past lives, but still, it is very much present and it's there in very subtle ways. So what that means is that I can see that this person, my anxiety is triggered because I can see that this person is going somewhere with whatever they're doing, right? So if somebody is looking at me and I'm doing something, and then they might get this thing, that envy, that like, okay, I am going, and it's very, very subtle. It's not a bad thing. It's not like I'm not judging. It's not a judgment on anybody because I do the same. Everybody does that, right? And it's a very, it's okay. This is the whole process of being human, is to work out of that. But then, okay, so they'll say, okay, this person is doing that, and I am afraid that this person will become better than me or is better than me. So I need to put the person down in order to feel better about myself. So when the person actually does that, then they feel a little bit better about themselves. Why? Because it is necessary for me to be the best so that I can be loved. If I'm not the best, then I will not be loved. So that is an understanding, conscious competence. But I may still feel resentful when somebody does that. So I understand that this is the situation. And this is a huge topic I've brought, by the way, huge example I've tried. We could have taken a very tiny example as well. But Okay, but that's conscious competence. And then at some point, when I keep reminding myself every time somebody says something and I feel a little bit resentful, or anytime somebody's angry, or anytime somebody's ignoring me, let's say, not responding to my text or something, I might feel a little resentful, like, why? And then I realize, oh, it is my fear that if this person doesn't respond to me or respond to me right away, then my fear is that I am not good enough. I am not worthy of being loved. I am not loved. I'm not worthy of being loved. This person is telling me that I'm not, which is not true. Of course, I am loved. I am loved by God non-stop, continuously. So it doesn't matter. So the more I remind myself, and this process might take years, by the way, or lifetimes even in some cases, or it might happen. All of these stages, including going to unconscious competence, might happen in a moment, like in a few moments, like in a few seconds. It might happen. That's how powerful this is. So yeah, and then unconscious competence would be like somebody says something and it doesn't even bother me. I don't even realize that somebody said something, right? Or it might happen in certain situations. I get triggered because those are my insecurities. In certain situations I don't get triggered, and that's usually the case for everyone. But the more we just keep trending towards more and more not getting triggered, being more peaceful, being more calm. It doesn't matter what people say or do. I am solid on my own. That is unconscious competence in the experience of, I would say, self love, God love, self love. So, yeah, that is the thing. So, the other way of talking about the learning is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasan. These are talked about in the scriptures, the Indian scriptures. Shravanam is listening. We get to know that we know something. That's going from the phase. So basically, they merge this instead of 4 phases. They call it 3, but they're saying go from the phase from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, where you're hearing and you're like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And then Mananam is thinking about it. And that is going from a place of conscious incompetence to conscious competence. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking, and I'm figuring out how to apply it to my life. And I'm starting to apply it to my life. I'm actually tying that shoelace. I'm actually thinking like, oh, I just felt resentment right now. I'm getting aware. I just felt resentment right now. And the resentment was because I am insecure, because if I am not the best, this person did not prove to me that I'm the best. They did not show to me that I'm the best. And I'm holding them responsible for letting me be whoever I am. So, just, okay, now I understand. Intellectually, I understand. Yes, I am feeling resentful because I am insecure that I'm not the best, and this person didn't validate to me that I'm the best. So it is this person's fault. So I listen to myself and I laugh. I'm like, okay, that's so silly for me. I understand that, but I still feel that resentment, maybe, right? Or and then I'm working towards it. I'm like, come on. I mean, you know it now. Stop feeling that resentment. Let go. You understand now. And then at some point, keeping on doing this, keeping on doing this, we get to the place where it just doesn't bother us anymore. It doesn't bother, like, so that is Nididhyasan. That is going deeper and deeper, contemplating and making it just a part of our lives. That is Nididhyasan, going from a place of conscious competence to unconscious competence, where it just we meditate upon it so much and we think about it so much that it just becomes a part of us. Okay, so yeah, so what I was talking about was going into the depth of things. Going into the depth of things, studying is allowing us to go from this place of conscious incompetence. No, sorry. Yeah, all these 4 stages of learning, basically conscious incompetence to conscious competence to unconscious competence. That is what going deep allows. So when you're pausing those videos, when lectures, and then you're thinking about how to apply it, then it's becoming a part of you. Then you're going to conscious competence. And the more often you're doing that, the more you're getting into unconscious competence. So it's becoming a part of you. So it's not about listening to 1,000 lectures. It is not about reading 1,000 books in a day or 1,000 lectures in a day. It is not about consuming the most amount of content that you can. I am going to encourage you, even if your learning style is to do that, and that is great also, because of course you will get information, you will get a lot of information. I will encourage you to go to this place where you go deep. There was this example given by somebody, and I'm not going to go into the details of who and what or whatever, but there was a Shaolin monk or something. There's a martial arts person, and there's one person saying that I want to learn from you. He's saying to a master, a really, really good master, I want to learn from you these martial arts. And I know this boxing thing, and I know this move, and I know this move, and I know this move, and I know this move. And like just going on, like I know, but what I need help with is this, and this, and this move. That's what he was saying. And then the person was like, you think you know this move? We were going to talk about this move. I'll teach you this move. The one of the moves that he's already said he knows. So he said, but I know this move already. He's like, you think you know this move? Okay, do this move. And he did the move, and then the master did the same move in like 1,000 times deeper way, in 1,000 times better way. And then that guy was like, oh my goodness, I thought I knew this move. I don't know this move at all. Right? Because he knew it superficially. So when you go into learning something, you go deep. And then that guy was like, yes, master, please teach me this move. I want to be able to do what you just did. This is amazing. So you go really deep as you can, and knowing that one punch instead of knowing 100 different punches in a superficial way, knowing that one punch in an extremely deep way, that is the core of learning. That is the beauty, that is the intensity, that is the just whatever. So I'm reading this book right now, and I like to do that, and I feel guilty. The thing is, the people are always talking about like, oh, I did this many lectures, I did this many, I did. I'm like, so I have to keep reminding myself that my method is good. It is a good method, and I in fact need to go deeper into it. So I'm reading this book called The Living Name. It's a book on chanting, the art of chanting and how to chant. I'm literally memorizing it. I'm while chanting, I'm reading that book and I'm memorizing it because I want it to be a part of my DNA. I don't want to just read it. It's not a book you can just read. Many of these things you just need to listen to. I mean, you might have heard that thing, like you cannot read a book, you can only reread it, because the first time you're just getting information, you're not like really. When you reread it is when you actually go to the depths of it, deeper. So even when I'm listening to lectures, I'm like, I can't just keep listening to a ton of lectures. I need to re-listen. So I listen sometimes 3 or 4 times. I want to listen even more because I want to really understand. Because the more I listen, the more I absorb it, the more I retain it, the more I remember it. And the more it becomes a part of me. And so when I'm speaking to other people, because it's become unconscious competence for me, when I'm speaking to people, it'll just come out. And it'll come out, I'll just suddenly remember it and speak about it and use it as a perfect example, because it has become a part of me. Because it has become unconscious competence, because it has become a part of my DNA. So the same thing with the book. I'm reading it so slowly, like a page or two a day if I'm reading that, because I'm memorizing it. And then I keep going back because I keep forgetting, so I'm rememorizing, and then I go. It's like I'm just stuck in the first few pages. I'm not moving past it. But it doesn't matter, because now when I'm speaking to people, I am talking about the concepts in those first 2 pages. I'm creating a course right now on limiting identities, shifting out of limiting identities. It's going to be a free course. It's going to be on my Facebook page. But only until 24 hours after the last call. There are 3 calls, and after that it'll become a paid course, and it'll become $333. In that course, because of this book, I'm like, things that I would have just completely ignored, things that I would have completely like looked over. Now I'm seeing the depth and the understanding that went behind writing that. I'm appreciating on a whole new level, and I'm incorporating some of those concepts in my course as well, which I would never have gotten to if I hadn't done this process of memorizing. So yes, I only know a few pages, but I know them on a much deeper level than I would have known them otherwise. And I'm able to actually utilize that in my day-to-day life and in my courses and in what I speak about. So, yes, the power of going deep is so important. Do one thing and do it. Become an absolute master at it. Do not get carried away by everything that people say. I read one book a day, or I read one book a week, or I read one book a month, or whatever. Don't go into those numbers. Those numbers are completely meaningless. Go into the depth. You cannot quantify the depth that you get from one book that you read 100 times. You cannot quantify the depth of that, but it is going to be so much more powerful. You are going to become so much more powerful because you are going to be a master, an absolute master at that. So yes, that's my encouragement to you. Use these concepts to get to a place of unconscious competence in the deepest way possible. Because even that has multiple layers. That has 1,000 layers. Just the layer of unconscious competence has 1,000 layers. Do you get resentful in this situation or not? And not the situation? Do you get? I'm using the resentment example basically, but that, right? Or when you've read a book, are you able to pull what sections are you able to pull that out? Are you able to pull that out? Are you able to? And of course, you have to be careful about what you're pouring your time into, but pour it into something that is valuable, something that is good, something that is powerful, and something that will make you powerful. And then at the end of the powerfulness, at the end of the feeling of the powerfulness, be extremely humble, because anything that you do is coming from God. So if you start to develop pride comes before the fall. You will fall. So don't be grateful. The opposite of pride is being grateful. Grateful that I am extremely grateful that I have this in-depth, really, and it's just come naturally to me, probably from my past life. But I have this understanding that going deep is way better than going broad. So I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be able to share this information with you. And I'm grateful for the idea that God gave me that I can share this with you, and that I can learn it. By sharing it, I am deepening that understanding as well. Because I get, when people talk about like, oh, I read so much or whatever, sometimes I feel bad that I'm not reading that much, and I feel like I'm not doing enough. And so this is a good reminder for me, just by sharing that I'm deepening it for myself. Yes, what I'm doing is incredible. It is not quantifiable. It is not comparable. And that is okay. Let people think what they may. I know what I'm doing. And yeah, I'm able to share this video. Okay, that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next video. Wish you a day filled with an immense amount of depth and the decision that you are going to go deep into something. You can pick something, pick whatever it is you want to learn next. You can make a decision that you're going to go deep. Okay, wish you a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Radhe Radhe.